Okay, so there we are. Okay, so for today's meeting, we thought about starting with a video that we want to share with you, okay? So before we do anything else, I'm going to share the screen. And let's see. If there's a problem with the sound, you let me know, okay? There's just music anyway.
There's no sound for me. I don't know if it's my connection or yours.
No sound here either.
Okay. Let me see. It's only music, but anyway, let me see if I can solve that. I'm not sure what the problem is. Share sound. Sorry, here I found it. Let's see now. I'll start again. Now?
Okay, now okay.
Okay, so the idea was to see, hi Anna. The idea was to see whether the representation of Ireland in the video matches your own representation of Ireland. What could you say about the video and what could you say about how the video represents Ireland? And then compare with your own representation, or if they two match, or if there are differences.
Well, that's certainly a lovely representation of Ireland as to make us want to visit it.
Yeah, sure.
We who are into Irish studies know well that there's a lot more than that.
Yes, of course. But what elements of the video do you feel that you already identified as Irish?
The sea, the dance, the music, the beat.
Yes, Anna?
I would like to add that when we saw it, the ideas that came to my mind are related to the landscape more than with the people, or what are the people doing, or the places, what is the city like, the shops, but more connected with the land, the animals, the fauna, the flora, let's say, but more with nature than with the city or what people are doing.
And what you saw in the video that's what the most impact of the video was related to landscape and nature in your case. And did it match your own expectations or your own images of Ireland?
Yes, well, we have read or we have seen other pictures, or we have read some works of art, or we have read some books about, or short stories about about Ireland. So we more or less have an idea. So
Yes.
it matches.
It
I
matches.
think it matches. But in my case, it's like when I think of Ireland, I only think about the nature and the landscape, and not about the people or the cities,
people or the
let's
cities.
say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
Because
more than
go on.
Yeah, and Gisela mentioned the sea, and I guess there are more than 4 pictures of the sea.
Yes, because the landscape is very important for writers, let's say. And therefore, that's why our representation is probably more associated with the natural world than with the cities. Although we have writers talking about the city. And let's explore what happens in today's reading, okay? So we are going to start with, I'm going to start the presentation for today's session. Hi, Mariela, I saw that you've just joined us. So as I anticipated in the reminder today, we are going to talk about, we're going to talk a little bit and read mostly the some of the work of Ivan Bolen. This is a very recognized, very well-known poet. Let's talk a little bit about her life before we go on with her work. She was born in Dublin and died in Dublin just 2 years ago. And most of her life is associated with the diaspora, because she lived in Ireland, in London, in the US. As you see in the presentation, her childhood was spent between London and New York, because his his father was a diplomat, so she traveled a lot. She returned to Ireland to go to school, secondary school, and then to go to university. She attended Trinity College in Dublin. And in her professional life, she was a teacher. She taught at those different colleges that you have there and universities. And so her life was divided between California and Ireland and Dublin. As regards her work, we can say that her critics have said that her early work in particular was influenced by her experiences as a young mother. She wrote her first collection of poems when she was 18, and from then on she continued writing up to near her death, because we'll see that her last published book is 2020, is dated 2020. So she's one of the most important female voices in Irish literature, in Irish poetry. And the topics, as you see there, are related to domestic life, myth, love, history, and the Irish rural landscape, as it says there. In fact, when she started writing poetry, she says in her memoirs that it was because she couldn't find her life, domestic life, everyday life in the poetry of other writers. And so she said that her life and everyone's life was worth being in poetry. So that's how she started. In fact, she says, if you are a mother, probably you don't have much time to write poetry, but anything while you are working, while you're doing anything will help you. A line, think of a line, think of a word, if you can't think of the whole poem. And in relation to this, she was very much concerned, troubled in connection with the role of women in Irish society. So most of her work, I'm going to show you now the next. These are not all her works, there are more. These are maybe, I wanted to include the first one and the last one, and then some other works in the middle. So she wanted to, in her poetry, she wants to show the beauty of the plain things. That's why she was concerned with this idea of domesticity. And she wanted to include women's perspective in literature and bring fresh views to Irish history and to Irish mythology. She was concerned with violence, with domestic violence in particular, but mostly concerned with female identities. That this was a constant concern of hers. And so now we move to the poem that we are going to work with today. I'm going to send you, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute so that I can share I can send you. Now that Kike is not with us today, I'm not sure how to do everything at the same time. Let me see. I want to share here the document. To share it in chats. Sorry, I have to open the chat. Okay, now I see one comment here. She's one of the top names connected with Irish female poets. Our colleagues from Mexico gave their chair of Irish studies her name, with that of Anne and Vice. Yes. Computer. Okay, I hope you got it. Okay, fine. So I'm going to read the poem without the presentation, if you all have your document there. And then we'll go back to the presentation. Okay, hi Valentina, just joined us. Okay, so do you all have the poem at hand? Can you all see it? Yes? Okay. So the poem we chose for this session is called Mother Ireland. So I'll start by reading. Mother Ireland by Ivan Bowe. At first I was land. I lay on my back to be fields, and when I turned on my side, I was a hill under freezing stars. I did not see, I was seen. Night and day words fell on me, seeds, raindrops, chips of frost. From one of them I learned my name. I rose up, I remembered it. Now I could tell my story. It was different from the story told about me. And now also it was spring. I could see the wound I had left in the land by leaving it. I traveled west. Once there, I looked with so much love at every field as it unfolded its rusted wheel and its pram chassis, and at the gore's bright distances I had been, that they misunderstood me. Come back to us, they said. Trust me, I whispered. Okay. Had you read this poem before? We should have chats. available. Sorry, I can't see the chats while while I'm sharing the. Let me see here. Okay, so our first activity today is for you to work together in breakout rooms. And so we'll have like 2 breakout rooms. And the idea is that you think about the meaning, what meanings the poem triggers for you, and who do you think is the poetic voice in the poem? And the last question would be associated with the last part of the poem, where you have this little dialogue. Who are the people involved in that dialogue? Who are the participants? Okay, so we'll give you like 5 minutes or 8 minutes, something like that, and then we'll share answers. Okay, so here I'm assigning you to 2 breakout rooms. Can you see them? So as to join? Yes, some people have already joined. Anna, you had problems the other day, I remember. I'm going to pause the recording. Okay, so what could you say? Oops, sorry. Well, these were the questions anyway. Explore the meanings of the poems. What do you think of the poetic voices? And what do you think, or who do you think the speakers are? So let's go back to the poem. So maybe one person from each group could be taking the questions.
Well, we can start. I don't know. I start.
Yes, please.
We discussed that there is an identification between the place and the poet.
Yes.
That's the voice, no? One identifies with the other.
Mm-hmm.
And what we also said was that the idea of presenting Ireland to the ones that have left, and we thought that at the end of the poem, she, referring to her own experience, she wants to come back and she wants others to come back to Ireland.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other ideas, or that's basically what you discussed?
Well, our group also mentioned the belonging to poetic tradition and how the poet, through her lyric eye, makes reference to that belonging as a matter of writing. So being Irish also means being a writer. And one of the things I think we most discussed basically was who is speaking in the poem, whose voice is that, and it's
whose voice is that? And for you, it's the poet.
Poland herself as a poet, as a writer, in dialogue with the tradition.
In dialogue with the tradition. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. So let's start. I don't know why I cannot see the top here, and when I want to, can you see the whole poem in the presentation?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay. So, what about the first part? What do you see there in the first part of the video? Maybe, of the poem, maybe up to the seeds, the raindrops in that part. The I in the poem is clearly what? The voice of?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
My question was, I agree that in the poem there is like a joint voice, the voice of the land and the voice of the poet. Can you identify any place in which those voices seem to separate, maybe?
I thought that it was the line where she says, "I looked with so much love at every field."
Mm-hmm. So, because the I at the beginning, when it says I was land, of course, is maybe the character, the name, the title of the poem refers to Mother Ireland. So, I could be the land, Ireland, described as land with the words field, with the words hill, with the seeds and nature, this natural association that we spoke at the beginning of the session is present here. Nature is present as part of Ireland. But at some point, when she says, now I could tell my story, and she starts saying, I could see the wound I had left in the land. And so here we see like a kind of separation. She's no longer, the voice here is no longer the land, but it's apparently the poet who has been given birth by the land, as if the land is the mother now, and the poet has separated from the mother, which doesn't mean that it's forgotten or lost. Maybe she carries the land with her, but now she has a voice which she didn't have at the beginning. The land apparently did not have a voice at the beginning. When she receives she was not seen, it says, I did not see, sorry, not she was not seen, the other way around. I did not see, I was seen. This may be referring to the fact that Mother Ireland, the myth of Ireland, has been associated with women in the sense of being objects of praise or objects of conquest, like Ireland, for example, conquered, seen from the point of view of a post-colonial reading, being conquered by the Romans, by the Danes, by the British, and at some point recovering or getting its own voice and becoming independent in the same way that women have acquired a voice and are changing the nature of Irish society. And that is, here we see one of the concerns, one of the most important concerns of Evan Boland in this, trying to reshape the association of women and Ireland as with this image of a woman as being the muse, the inspiration, but also the possession of men, or also controlled by men, not having a voice, not having a real voice, which is what she wanted to bring to poetry in this case. So,
meaning that after 700 years of occupation, the British have changed ideas, landscape, customs of society. No, that is what you mean.
Yes, yes. That by on the one hand, the separation of the daughter from the mother, the acquisition of this independence, this her own voice, as it says here, and the fact that this reference to migration, which you mentioned also, the idea of many Irish people moving away from Ireland, and also a reference to her own situation, because as I said at the beginning, also she was her life was also in diaspora, and therefore she left. But leaving is presented here as something, not as something negative, but as something positive. Because when she says here, I traveled west, and there with so much love, I could look at every field as it unfolded, all those big distances, as if by moving away from Ireland, you can also have a different perspective from your own country, and also be enriched by this movement, and be able to come back, as someone said, Giselle, I think, said before. Also, this the last part of the poem, this dialogue between the poet and maybe other poets, or between the poet and people back in Ireland. Come back to us, and trust me, this idea of being confident that by moving away from Ireland, you are not losing your identity, or you're not abandoning your home, let's say. You are carrying it with you, and you can see it enriched by the perspectives, the views, the knowledge that you acquire by traveling. Yes, someone wanted to say something, I think.
Perhaps, Miriam, I think that, yes, I agree with you. That last dialogue, I think it is with Ireland itself. That is to say, they say, come back to us, but it's a collective thing, not us as a group of people, but us, Ireland, the country itself.
Yes, yeah, of course.
And
Yes.
the poet saying, trust me, well, because she, as you said, had been perhaps enriched, and certainly think she has been enriched by her moving away and coming back. And so now Ireland can trust her because she is in a way a different person, but still an Irish poet or an Irish person.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
Probably she's given Ireland a voice.
Yes, a different
Yes.
voice. She's given Ireland a different voice, a voice that it didn't have before, because of this idea of Ireland being a muse, but like a symbol, but unable to be to stand on her own, always with the need of men to protect her, to defend her, like women. And so she wanted to revert this vision of Ireland by bringing to poetry the views of a woman and the views of an independent woman, a woman who could be a subject, not an object. In fact, and I think Giselle mentioned this idea of the dialogue with tradition. I've read an interpretation of the last dialogue as being this come back to us being the poets, traditional poets, and trust me being her own voice, as if, well, I'm not following tradition exactly in the same way as you did, but I'm bringing new things, new life to this tradition, these new interpretations.
That's it.
Anything else that you would like to say about the poem?
No, as we were talking in our group with Karen and Florencia, it's not that there is only one meaning that you can derive from the reading of the text, but many things emerge as you read and reread. So I think this is a very rich poem.
Yes.
And we can continue
analyzing it, finding
or uncovering things. Okay,
yes.
Right.
And one last question connected with the form of the poem. What could you say? What comes to your mind? Of course, this is free verse, right? And with Kike, we were thinking of well, different possibilities, but the idea of the way in which you see the lines in the paper, like a representation of Ireland itself also, by, for example, thinking of the different lines or the different kind of stanzas as waves, or even the rugged coast of Ireland represented also in the poem. But this is, of course, our own interpretation, not something we read. Okay, so I don't know if that makes sense to you.
The way the poem is written called my attention and drove me to continue reading, because of the there is no pattern.
Yes, and like there is a movement in the poem, in the shape of the poem.
it gave me the idea that Ireland has to give them the poem and the immigrants or whatever, many things, fields, hills, seeds. I mean, Ireland has a rich variety of things to value.
Okay. Yes, exactly. Yes. As I said before, nature is very present, but also migration, also the diaspora. Mariela said, there are many different meanings that we can derive, and the more we read it, the more things we will find, probably. Okay, so before...
sorry,
yes.
Miriam.
Yes.
This arrangement of the lines made me think about this poet who lived in two different places, maybe at the same time, so she was coming and going.
Yes.
And maybe this movement is also represented.
Yes, of course. It may be representing that too. Yes. As you see, there are many things that we can say by reading the poem, maybe by reading other poems by the same poet, by reading other poetry. The more we read, of course, the more ideas will come to our minds, the more experience we have as a reader and as a human being also, more interpretations. Okay, as usual, I'm going to
Miriam,
read. Yes.
I wanted to know, do you know when was this poem written?
Yes, 1995.
1995.
So it was kind of in the middle of her career. She was, I think, already a mature poet by this time. And this exploration of the myth of Ireland, as I said before, her interests were mythology and history. She has also poems about history, and really very rich poet. So she wanted to explore the myth, but from a woman's perspective, let's say. So I read one more time, and then I'll show you one more poem by this author. At first, I was land. I lay on my back to be fields, and when I turned on my side, I was a hill under freezing stars. I did not see, I was seeing. Night and day words fell on me, seeds, raindrops, chips of frost. From one of them, I learned my name. I rose up. I remembered it. Now I could tell my story. It was different from the story told about me. And now also it was spring. I could see the wound I had left in the land by leaving it. I traveled west. Once there, I looked with so much love at every field as it unfolded its rusted wheel and its pram chassis. And at the gorse bright distances I had been, that they misunderstood me. Come back to us, they said. Trust me, I whispered. Okay, so finally, before I leave you, okay.
Sorry, Miriam.
Yes.
Miriam. I just wanted to point out something that called my attention. I was just looking at the title of the poem.
Mm-hmm.
If you think of the title, if you have given us the title of the poem and not the poem, we probably have inferred that it was going to describe Ireland, and it was going to describe the relation of a mother to the son.
Yes, or a daughter, yes. Yes, that's, if you want to use it, for example, for a class, that's another way of introducing the poem, creating expectations and then checking whether they were right or not, or how you change your mind of this name, Mother Ireland. I had this last quote from the poet herself, this idea of this relationship between the idea of a woman and the idea of a poet, as if when she started writing, as if they were in opposition, as if you were a woman, you could not be a poet, because the life of a woman was associated with a life different from the one of a poet. While a woman's life was associated with communality, as it says here, the life of a poet was associated with individualism. But, as it says near the end, she couldn't accept the possibility that the life of a woman would not or could not be named in the poetry of my own nation. I thought that quote was very representative of what she wanted to do with her poetry. Finally, I'm going to read one last poem, which is different because it's no longer the Ireland in its totality, but an experience in Dublin, and it's not nature but the city. So I will send this one by mail as soon as we finish the class, or maybe later this afternoon. This is just for enjoying, okay? No analysis. We'll be finishing in a minute. Once in Dublin, small things make the past, make the present seem out of place. A woman cracking and twisting, black atoms falling down on green leaves. If I am ever to go back to what I loved first, here are the words to be wished on. Almost, as you see, an incantation. Someone blew air out of a corridor between a mountain range and a sea. This, at least, has never changed. Empty out the streets, fit the cars easily into their parking places, slow the buses down by 30 years. Observe a brave fiery shower above a plate of bacon and potatoes. We are nearly there. Now say dinner for lunch and tea time instead of supper. And see how it comes again, my little earth, my city of white pepper. Okay, so this is the end of today's session. Did you like the poem, the last one?
Yes.
Okay, I'll set it by mail because it takes longer to do everything here. So sorry about that, but just to share something else. Well, you can keep on reading her poems. They are available easily. Okay, thank you very much then. We'll meet again next Monday for our last session.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.